Hello, everybody, and welcome back from vacation. I hope you had a wonderful break and your brains were able to take a break and rest up and get ready for our last bit of math for the year. So we have been working with fractions and we've been drawing fractions and labeling fractions on shapes. And now we're going to take a little bit of a shift and we're going to look at what fractions look like when we're looking at a number line, okay? So just a few reminders. Fractions are parts of a whole. So you want to remember that fractions are small parts out of one whole, right? And we've been talking about a lot of using our tape diagrams, right? Or fraction strips. And so we've done a lot of identifying of fractions on a fraction strip. So for example, if I have this, actually I'm going to redraw this, guys, and I'm going to make it a nice rectangle so that it's not even wonky. There we go. So let's say I've got this fraction strip and I ask you to shade or show me 1/2 to partition this fraction strip in 1/2. So I'm pretty sure you guys would all do this, right? You'd look at it, maybe that's a little off, and you'd put one line down the middle to show that you have 2 halves, right? You've split our whole fraction strip into half. And now we have 1/2 here, and we have 1/2 here. And just a quick reminder about how we look at that on a number bond. You guys have also done these, remembering that our total is one whole, because right now we're only talking about fractions of one whole, nothing larger. And we would show that one whole is made up of 1/2 and 1/2, right? Now, when we think about looking at a number line, I want you to think about a ruler, okay, or a measuring stick, or a thermometer. All of those are sort of real life number lines that we use. So I'm going to draw a number line right under this tape diagram, and you're going to see why in a minute. I'm just going to move it down just a second. If we think of, taking our fraction strip and turning it into a number line, you're going to see that it lines up really beautifully. So I'm going to put the end of our fraction strip. I'm going to draw a line down like this, okay? Whoops. So that we can see that the end of the left side of our fraction strip matches up with our, what we call a hash mark on our number line. This is called a hash mark, okay? It marks where a certain spot on the number line is. And I'm going to do the same on the other end. This time I'm just not going to draw all the way. So my 2 end points, those are called end points, the points that are at the end of my number line, okay, that's these guys. All right, my 2 end points line up with the edges of my fraction strip, okay? I'm also going to place a line, whoops, to match where I cut my number line in half, all right? If I look at my number line and I think about my fraction strip as being one whole, I'm going to label this part as 0 and this part as 1 for one whole. So I'm just going to get rid of my pink for a second here. I'll kind of do it over this way. Okay, so we have 0 over here on our number line. That's the beginning. That means we have nothing of our fraction strip, right? And over here we have one whole. So that if we had the whole thing filled in, we would have one whole fraction strip, right? And then in the middle, we've cut the line in half. So this is the 1/2 point, okay? And we mark a point by putting a dot right on the number line. Now, they don't need to be huge like this, guys, okay? A point is small, but big enough that you can see it. So that's too small. That would be perfect, okay? So what we've done is we've taken our fraction strip and we've basically, all we've done is really just kind of said, hey, we're going to take the bottom part right here and we're going to make it into a number line. The first part here, when we have nothing, is 0. The final part over here is 1. That says we have the whole thing. And then whatever fractional unit we're going to break it up into will show that. And in this case, it's 1/2. So let's see what happens when we try to show thirds on a number line. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to make my fraction strip. And I think I'm going to kind of go pull it down a little bit here, guys. Okay. All right, so I've got my fraction strip. and I'm going to make my number bond. Again, the whole is always 1, and this time we said we're talking about thirds. How many parts do we need for thirds? If you said 3, you're right. So when I'm making my number bond, I'm going to pull out 3 parts. And I'm going to show that one whole is made up of 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/3. Now I can go ahead and break my fraction strip into thirds. Remember, to get 3 parts, how many lines did I draw? Only 2. So you only have to draw 1 line fewer than the number of parts you need. Okay, so there I've broken my fraction strip into thirds. Now I'm just going to make the same thing on a number line. So I'm going to make my number line. And I like to actually go a little bit beyond it. I didn't go quite as far as I want to. I like to go a little beyond it because we have to draw those arrows, because these lines, imaginary lines, go on forever and ever and ever. So I want to go a little beyond. Now I'm going to make my end points to match up with my 0 and my 1, and I'm going to label that. Okay? And then I'm going to look at my number line and break it into 3 equal parts. Now I can look at my fraction strip above. Eventually you won't use the fraction strip. You'll just look at the line and break it into 3 equal parts. Remembering you're going to draw 2 lines. So I'm going to break it up and put my little hash marks in, right? So there I've broken up my number line into 3 separate sections. Here's 1, 2, and 3. So I've broken it into thirds. Now let's label our fractions. Here we have 0. That's the same thing as saying 0 thirds. I don't have anything. If I give you this much of a candy bar, I've given you nothing, right? Only until we get here have I given you 1/3, right? So if I give you this much of the strip, you now have 1/3. If I give you another section, you're going to end up with 2/3. So see how that's kind of filling in those sections? But 2/3 on a number line is just at this point. It's not here, it's not here, it's not here. It's right here, okay? And then our last point, if we get all the way, we have the whole thing, or we can call that 3/3, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3 thirds as our unit, okay? So today for your assignment, you're going to be partitioning up your fraction strips and your number lines into different fractional units, including halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, and sixths. Now, if you've watched my video all the way through, I'm going to put in a little tricky for you. I am going to tell you that if you write the word pickle on one of your slides, you do not have to complete that slide. You must spell it correctly, so make sure you look. If you write the word pickle on one of your slides, you do not need to complete that one slide. So you can get out of one problem today. The rest of them you do still need to do. So make sure you have watched the video all the way through. Let me know if you need any help. Use your fraction strips if you need to. And make sure you label each part of your number line, including your zeros and your wholes, okay? So 0 thirds or 0 halves, 3 thirds, 2 halves, 4 fourths. Make sure you label all those parts on the number line. Good luck, have fun, and let me know if you need